Hi, Fran. So a bit of a topical topic here today is to be talking about smartphones and children and the usage or restriction of usage. What's your views on something that works in the environment with children and education, and what's your views on smartphones?
Well, look, I think it's really important from the offset to say what a useful tool a phone is for an older child. Research and YouTube videos and understanding, researching for homework and also, keeping in touch with people, being able to report to you if they're out of the house and you're not with them, sort of keeping you up to date on where they are and what they're doing and who they're with. So I think there are some really positives behind mobile phones, and I think we need to remember those when we are talking about them as well. But obviously, as with anything, as a parent, you've got to have some ability to control, understand, advise, and educate. And I think the educate part of this is the most important thing. And the irony is that as the parent and the educator, we are less knowledgeable than the person we're trying to educate. Because I have a 14-year-old son. He knows way more about social media and way more about phones than I will ever know, because he's grown up with them and it's all he's ever known. But what I have as a parent is I have autonomy to be able to control and educate him on what's good for him and what isn't good for him. So things like you have a hub within a family home, and within that hub you have a control panel, and on that control panel you can set it to parental locks. You can put time bans within that. So, my son has no internet connection beyond 8 o'clock at night because I want him in bed at 9 and I want him asleep by 10. So, and obviously depending on the age of the child will depend on what is relevant, what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. Making sure that if they've got access to screens and the internet, that they're using those within a public space in the house, that they're not away in their bedrooms. Because what a child will do when they're closed up in a bedroom, they won't necessarily do when they're sat in front of you, and they won't necessarily speak the same way and have the same conversations because they're aware of being in a public environment. So those are some things that would be my key concerns. Obviously, with things with Snapchat and all of those, you've got bigger concerns because actually whatever they've sent's been deleted the minute it's been sent. So that's very difficult to manage. So that's where you can't just govern this with sort of draconian measures. It's got to be an education as well. And what I would hope for is that if you're educating them from an early age, you get to a point when they're teenagers where they understand that it's not good for them to watch their screens at night, and it's not good for them to be on social media all the time. And actually, they've experienced someone being not very nice to them over social media, and you've shown them how to manage that situation. So they have managed it, they've dealt with it, they've moved on, they've learned a skill. So when I say educate, that's what I mean, that you've got to have an open relationship with your children, that they will tell you about stuff and they'll talk to you about stuff, because stuff will happen, and kids can be cruel, and they will make comments about this and that and the other, and it might be your child that's being cruel, and you need to manage that as much as you manage the child that's upset because someone said something not very nice to them. And it's all about that. It's no different to when we were children, really, and you'd come home and say, oh, so and so and so and so was really mean to me today, mummy, and I'm really upset, and I don't want to speak to her anymore, and I hate her. And you would talk that through with your child, and you would arm them and give them some tools to go back into that environment with, to deal with it. Obviously, with social media, it's slightly different, because that, when you close the door at night, it's inside the house with you. It's not been shut out of your house. So it's just about being mindful and being aware of it, really, and being ready for any problems that might exist, and having some answers and discussing it with your friends and discussing it with other adults. And there's loads of great courses out there that you can go on that teach you all about how to cope with social media, what good screen time is, what bad screen time is. Go on one of the courses and educate yourself.